Every time I've walked down here this evening, I've passed these gentlemen just sitting here, and they've handed me a beer every single time. And I haven't, you know, it's just, thank you so much for that.
Thanks so much for that. It was a kind of like a bit emotional sitting back there watching the end of that, and it's been fantastic watching it with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed yourself.
You know, sitting through 7 hours of the show. It was, as I said, it was incredibly moving for us to, and it just made me think of all the things we could have done serious if things hadn't been different.
What, should we, any questions? Yes, man.
So, the guy with the torso.
What, sorry?
The guy with the torso. Anyway, sorry, is it bad attention humor? It's too late. So,
who are you?
He has a torso, I can see it.
From the beginning, it seemed like you tried to set up Tim and Daisy to have a relationship that might go more past friendship. Was that the plan from the beginning, or was that something that developed later as you were writing?
No, it was from the beginning. When Jessica and I were coming up with the idea, I was I loved that idea of the unrequited relationship. It's such a great dynamic. It works dramatically so beautifully, and you know, I mean, so many shows, Moonlighting, The X-Files. There's always that thing is the most gripping thing.
Everyone eats that shit up.
What?
Everyone eats that shit up.
Yes, lady. She said people eat that shit up.
If people eat that shit up! That girl, they fucking love that shit. Yeah, but I
think actually, ironically enough, there was when they, you know, when they were doing like a, you know, a story arc meeting for Moonlighting Series 4, like Glenn Goran said, they eat that shit up.
I said it in the original pitch that I wanted it to be a, you know, sort of unrequited relationship, and yes, if things have been different, you know, and we've done a series 3, then, and I always say that the last episode of the 3rd series, which probably would have been the last if we managed to be able to do it, would have ended in the most satisfying, spectacular kiss you'd ever seen in your life. You know, it would have been so charged and so fucking beautiful, it would have blown up the televisions. It's probably a good job we didn't do it.
The only weird thing about that is it would have been between Tim and Mike.
Mike was going to get a boyfriend. I think Mike and Dexter would have probably ended up together. Because there was a strange thing. We toyed with the idea of giving Mike a girlfriend, but it just didn't quite fit, you know. I think Mike sublimates his entire sexual energy into his army obsession, but I think if he settled for a second and thought about it, he probably likes men. He's got a moustache.
Anybody with moustaches in the audience?
But there's a certain special kind of moustache.
Let's have a few more questions. Man at the back.
Yes. When and how did you first stumble upon this telepathic linkage common to all males?
That was something I tried to incorporate into my stand-up for a long time, and never been able to quite do it. You need to do it with some, you know, the whole. You need to have someone do it with you in order to sort of demonstrate it. So when we were writing the episode 5, I've sort of found a way to put it in, and. But it's true though, isn't it? It's just true. Anybody that's, and guys and girls as well, if they're the right kind of people, and you go, grotto, that person will go, and you know, it's just the way it works. It's the picture of peace, really.
It's very satisfying to pretend to be shot as well.
Using the words "toi."
Okay, another question. Lady.
What's in the letter to Sophie?
Yeah.
It says, "I'm sorry I couldn't come to get you, but there's something more important I need to do." That's what it said. You be on.
See, eating that shit up.
They eat that shit up, they do. That girl said so.
How many of you have seen the end of the Skip to the End documentary?
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't, if you get the DVD, a little nugget of shit to eat up at the end of that documentary, which you'll enjoy.
There's a little Tim and Daisy nugget on the end there, yeah.
Another question.
Yes.
Man.
Man. Now that this is the end of the whole Space, the DVD run, do you feel like this is the end of Space? Or you guys feel like you're closing the chapter on it?
Yeah, well, a little bit. It's funny, you know, weirdly enough, it's kind of, having been out on the road, as I was saying, with me, Jess and I get together, you know, just whenever we get, the three of us get together, we kind of talk about it, and if I could go back in time and carry on from where we left off, I would utterly. And I miss the characters, and I miss the experience of doing it. It's just, time just rumbles on like a bastard, and it kind of, you know, it's annoying.
I know, and it was difficult making the second series, like anyway, because there was this thing I think we were conscious of as we were doing it, that the best way to do a sequel, which you never really get the opportunity to do unless you're Woody Allen and you don't read reviews, is just to make something in a vacuum, and just, you know, that would have been the really pure way to do a second and third series, is just to just keep going and just kind of do something straight away. And you know, the second series was hard because we had the expectations of what people had seen for the first one, and you know, and we were all completely exhausted physically and mentally at the end of the second series, that we kind of took a bit of a break, and then the break just kept on going, and then it was difficult to go back. I mean, one of the things that's really strong about the show, and really, you know, when we made it, is that, you know, at the time, before the first series, there were lots of kind of Friends knockoffs in the UK. They were trying to be like youth sitcoms, and they were all written by people in their 30s, 40s, 50s even, you know, that were doing kind of something like Space, and we were the only show which was genuinely made by people in their mid-20s. I was 24, you know, Jess was 25, Simon was 27 when we did the first series. And the thing was, is, you know, even by the second series, our lives had kind of changed. And if we'd have done a third series, another 2 years later, our lives would have changed again. And that's the tricky thing about going back, is we don't want to be like charlatans. We don't want to be sort of we couldn't kind of go back and pick up exactly where we left off, because we're different people now.
We don't want to be the people that we were railing against when we made the show in the first place. It's like, weirdly enough, and I know I'm boring, but it's like George Lucas, you know, when he made Star Wars, he was like a kind of young buck. He was thrusting, it was all about youth and vitality, and about, you know, getting rid of the old guard and forging a new future. Phantom Menace was about tax. Fucking being frightened of the Japanese. You know, there's a big fat businessman worried about, you know, getting muscled in from the east. It was like boring. And I'd hate for us to do that, you know. It'd be funny, we actually talked about purposefully making a space Phantom Menace style space, vacuous, badly written, over CG'd series.
CGI house, CGI walls.
Just put out some airless shit.
Colin is CGI.
He speaks.
It's Colin speaks.
Hello, Timmy!
Marsha is played by Watto. It's all very strange. It's really strange. I'd be directing it from my office. I wouldn't even be on the floor of the studio.
You're going to direct it.
Yeah, I'd be pretending to have a jaw. It'd be, you know.
Oh, you're sorry for him now? Fuck you.
I think that, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's funny, like, sort of,